All right, the governor is in the house. We got a lot to cover.
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
So much to do, so little time to do it with. We're not going to waste any time here talking about other issues today, although there's plenty to talk about with the governor directly. This is part of our week where yesterday we had the Speaker of the House. Tomorrow night we'll have the Senate President, and Thursday and Friday the Republican minority leaders in both the Senate and the House of Representatives, just to try to get everybody's perspective, those who are elected and in office. So make note of that at both 7:30 and at midnight. You may be seeing this particular program at 7:30 a little bit late because we were covering on MyRA TV the state of Massachusetts address by Governor Baker. So how timely is that? Here was the headline on the state of the state, two states of the state, because the Journal was trying to juxtaposition the Republican point of view, of course, with Representative Morgan, who's running for the governor's seat. And here was one highlight amongst many from the speech.
Let's commit to investing $1 billion over the next 5 years to finally fix our public schools.
Let's get into the middle of that. Welcome, Governor. Good to see you.
Hello, welcome.
Happy New Year. All that stuff. We said that. In my high school guys would say, "You owe me a beer" when you say something exactly the same way.
As long as it's a Gansett, I'm buying.
All right, good. Well, you're always on it, aren't you?
Message,
You're always on message. You're always on message. That's not a new $1 billion. It might be a new $500 million, but we already do $80 million a year to try to keep up with the schools, and we're not keeping up. So when it was a great punchline. Obviously, it's thematic for what you're trying to get accomplished, but I'm not so sure we have anybody's portrayed the accuracy of what it is that we spend and what we want to spend.
So, a lot of truth to what you say. Before I became governor, there was a freeze on spending. So I think for 5 or 6 years, we were doing almost nothing. And then the first year I was governor, we lifted the freeze with the legislature, and we started investing on the order of $80 million a year from the state, and then cities and towns on top of that. But you're exactly right. We're falling behind. And by the way, it's in every city and town. I know you're from Cumberland. This isn't just a Providence, Pawtucket problem. It's Barrington, East Greenwich, the whole thing.
No, but you know what's interesting about everybody's point of view, not just your leadership, or maybe not even pointed to your leadership, but everybody kind of pays attention when the suburban schools pipes bust.
Yeah.
And I think there's a little bit of a discrimination thing built into the system in general. Oh, the city schools. Oh, the city schools. Oh, the city schools. Oh, no, guess what? Warwick just busted. Oh, now we got a situation.
Yeah.
That's problematic.
It is absolutely problematic, and that's why I always say, no, Barrington High School is on the list. East Greenwich is on Narragansett. But so we've ignored it for too long. It's incredibly expensive to fix a school once you've let it fall apart. So I'm saying this is the first time we've done this. I'm proposing a $250 million bond on the ballot. We'll let the voters decide. And it'll be that 250 plus cities and towns to do their piece, and then continuation of the $80 million a year. And when you wrap it together, it's about $1 billion over 5 years, which is the number that the engineers said it would take to get our schools up to warm, safe, and dry.
Right, which is a cliche, but which has been like the I don't know, it's like the threshold definition across the country about where schools need to be.
Warm, safe, and dry. And by the way, I mean, we want every school to be a school that every parent would be happy to send their kids to. You, me, everybody. And that's warm, safe, and dry. But even that isn't enough. So many of our high schools don't have science labs, or they have one tiny science lab. They're not wired for 21st century
It'd be
learning.
interesting to see where you go with this bond, because the politics of school funding are really interesting.
Yeah.
When your kids are out of school, you have less interest in this. I mean, voters are very self-interested, and so you're going to have to get a younger electorate to be able to, a mommy-daddy electorate's going to have to focus on this. I'm not saying all seniors more or less say, go screw to the kids, but you got to sell what the benefits are for them, the economy, the sustenance of the state, all of that, because it's not in their wheelhouse anymore.
You are right. I mean, you are right. If you have school-age kids, you're in the schools every day. I have parents come up to me on Christmas Eve at Mass, during Mass. I had a mom come up to me, and during the Mass, and basically say, can you please fix East Providence High School? And so if you're a parent, you know it, you live it. It's not fair.
I would say that's
right.
a violation. It's a 15-yard penalty if it's on the communion line. Was it after communion?
It was not during communion, but the point is that if you're the governor, you're thinking, all right, Gina, you got to do something about this because this is a problem.
Well, there's another thing that you've addressed, which has been a long-time problem, and that's the roads. And the RhodeWorks program is seemingly on track when it comes to construction. But this toll thing, I'm telling you, you and I have been at this a long time.
We have.
It's phony baloney. I will bet you all the Narragansett you want that you don't get those tolls up. You have an election year.
Oh, I'll take that bet.
Yeah? So you tell me right here and now what specifically is the timetable for the full complement of 14 gantries going up in this state?
We're going to start with one.
I know that, and you're going to try to get that approved finally in February.
Exactly. So we're going to start with one in February. We assume there'll be litigation, which we will then have to defend.
But we talked about this, and I think you gave me a good answer on this. You said, hey, listen, if we lose litigation, we don't put the tolls up.
Correct.
But now they're playing rope-a-dope with you. They were going to sue you on one or two. But they've already said, the American and Rhode Island Trucking Association have already said now, since our last conversation a year ago on this, that they're not going to do that. They're going to wait for the full width and breadth of the 14 or 17 tolls to go up, measure the impact, and sue then.
Yeah.
So unless you drag them into litigation, there's legal technical tool that you could do that. Do you want to drag them into litigation?
It's a real problem for them if they wait, because their whole argument, which I don't agree with, and I'm confident we're going to prevail, is that they're being disproportionately harmed by this. So they either have to sue after one or two tolls, or they essentially forfeit their ability to do that.
Who tells you that?
Every lawyer that you would talk to. Because the harm is they have to sue saying they're being harmed. So they can't make a very good argument.
Well, you get harmed with a couple of tolls, and then you get really harmed with 14 tolls. And so I just think the checkerboard or the chessboard has changed here. And I'm not so sure that you're addressing how things have changed. They have publicly stated they're not going to sue until the whole thing is up.
We'll see if they can. I don't think that's a viable legal strategy. So we'll see what happens.
Call a press conference and ask them to sue you?
No,
I mean, what are you going to do?
We'll see what happens. We have our legal strategy. They have their legal strategy.
The gubernatorial
I don't think they're going to be harmed.
Okay. Well, the gubernatorial candidates in this election year, I'm sure, are going to put the tolls up as a point of contention.
No doubt about it.
And they'd be nuts if they didn't ask you for specific calendar dates for those tolls by which you get measured. So tell me, will they be up by the time you
Some will be up.
People vote in November 18th?
Some will be up. We'll have some up, but not all of them. I mean, they have a schedule.
The schedule is moving, it's fluid, and it's not published formally.
Yeah, we got to do one. We got to see how it goes, and then we'll move to the next one.
Okay. I'll let the audience decide whether or not those answers are sufficient. State of State was more of a, well, let me ask you, did you feel like it was a report out to the people or more of a campaign re-election speech?
I thought it was a report out to the people.
No you hip in it.
We're in a much better place than we were a year ago. There's a lot of things in it. My son told me the speech was too long as it was, so I didn't put everything in it. But at a high level, we talked about this, the economy, the roads, the schools, mental health, mental illness. We try to hit on the big stuff.
Is Tommy proofreading the speeches
no,
now?
He is not.
He was certainly excited to get there. I happened to
did.
be there when he walked in. It was the cutest thing in the world. It just was. He's fantastic.
He grabbed me after. He's like, "Mom, great job. A little long, but I'm a team player." I'm a team player. It was a little long.
Okay. Well, look, you had the room. Let's keep going is the theme.
Yeah.
So what you're trying to do is you're trying to sell everybody on the idea that we're a lot better off than a lot of you crankers think we are, right?
Exactly. I'm trying to sell you on that. Speaking of crankers, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Yeah, we are. We are. When we started, the whole point is this. There's more to do than we've done. And I don't want to get up there and say everything's fantastic, because it's not. And there's a lot of people at home who say, hey, I still don't have a job. My kid's struggling with mental health and we can't find a doctor. My kid's school's falling apart. So I was trying to say, I know, I hear you. I feel, not everyone's feeling it.
No
We're going to
deficit
keep going.
in the speech either. No explanation of how to get out of the deficit. And you're putting up, you're putting things in the budget like potential Supreme Court decisions on sports gambling.
Yes. I expect
that's no way to budget.
Well, I don't agree. There's a lot of
That's
assumptions.
like saying you're going to budget the household because your uncle might croak and give you an inheritance. I mean, you know,
no, it's not quite like that.
Well, that might be a
that.
stretch, but so is a stretch to put $25 million in a budget where you don't know.
I don't think
so. Huh?
I don't think so. Everyone who's following it expects the Supreme Court to rule in favor. Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, they already passed legislation in place to get there.
So
I don't want to be
conceptually, you
behind.
support it.
Yes.
You itching to make a bet on the Super Bowl? Is that what's going on here,
well,
or what?
Well, you know, if we're going to, I want Rhode Island to reap our share of proceeds.
All right. Speaking of sports, we're in the middle of this PawSox thing. The governor's latest perspective next. The Senate bill is dead in the House, as written.
The Senate bill is dead in the state of Rhode Island. 2/3 of the Rhode Islanders do not support it, and therefore the House will not support it.
The Speaker of the House yesterday making news by, well, it's self-explanatory. Reaction?
I think they ought to vote on it. You know, I'm a supporter of it, as we were just talking about. Let's look at our options, right? I believe the PawSox belong in Rhode Island, in Pawtucket. That's a good thing. I don't want them in Worcester. I don't want to drive by 10 years from now and see them not there. I want to see a new stadium that's vibrant. Right now, to repair McCoy will cost the state tens of millions of dollars. If the team leaves, we lose income tax from the players, sales tax, the whole thing. I think it's a good deal for the taxpayers. I've said from the beginning I support anything that supports taxpayers. This Senate bill does that, and I think they ought to pass it.
I think you've offered a lot of the right answers. Here's the thing. I know you're trying to figure out how this thing moves, and you're trying to measure the electorate. I think the polling has been push polling and unfair. I think if you take 10 people in Kennedy Plaza and you ask them, do you want to finance the state finance in any part the new stadium? 8 out of 10 say no.
No. Yeah.
If you say, by the way, do you know that we already state financed the stadium and we're already in a partnership? They, really?
Really? Yeah.
Okay, ask the question again. So, do you want to continue the same kind of model? Yes or no? Huh, well, I guess so. And then all of a sudden the number changes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we have a dumb electorate, I'm saying we have an uninformed electorate.
That's
Everything
true.
they talk about on a cruise and a vacation, where are you from? Rhode Island. Oh yeah, you got some cool stuff over there. And, you know, in addition to our reputation for corruption,
Right,
blah, blah, blah.
right.
Oh yeah, we got some wonderful P-PAC, the dunk, the this,
Right,
the dot, the
everything,
blah, blah, blah.
food,
Everything is
yeah,
public-private
right.
partnership.
Yeah.
Have you evaluated why they have this disposition?
Who do you mean?
The public.
I have not. No. I have
Well,
not.
in part, I look you square in the eye because I say it every single day.
Right.
In part, you're to blame.
Yeah. Okay.
You promised an
Yeah.
independent investigation on 38 studios and didn't
Right.
deliver.
Right.
And because
But
that
you know I
thing
don't
is-
agree with that, but I'll let you finish.
Equal opportunity.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because we have a lingering infestation of distrust of government. They moved on from 38 for answers with a disposition of never having the psychological cleansing that was necessary.
To get rid of that.
So they're just looking for something to say no to.
Right.
And that's on leadership from the Speaker to the Senate President, then and now, to you for making a promise and not following through it. And don't tell me the lawsuit did it, because that's just getting money back. It never laid all the cards out on the
Yeah.
table.
So a few things.
So they're upset.
Yeah, a few things.
And irrational.
I don't actually agree with the connection between the two. People don't like this, I think, for the reasons you said, which is if you ask people, do you think you ought to take your tax dollars and give it to all these rich, you know, Terry Murray, Tom Ryan, to build a ballpark? The answer is no, except when you scratch below the surface, that's not really what's happening here, right? I mean, I don't think
It's
those
complicated.
guys need more money either.
I think you're correct about that analysis too. I think though what flavors the momentum of aggravation is 38.
Maybe.
Kurt Schilling was a big rich guy and blew it.
Yeah.
Murray, Ryan, big rich guys, they don't deserve it. There's psychological connection.
The other problem is, I think, I'd be interested to know what you think, people still have in their head the deal of a couple years ago, which was a terrible deal, which I didn't support,
True.
which was like a $100 million giveaway from the state to those guys. And it's hard to convince people, no, this is different.
No doubt.
This is different than that.
PawSox The new organization has it on them as well for souring the public on the. So all those things add up to a frittata of bad psychology in all of this.
Distrust.
But here's what I would suggest. In addition to, I think, your fall down on 38, your arguments here, I think, are perfect. Your energy has been low level. You haven't moved your chips all in on this PawSox Stadium deal.
What more could I do?
Oh, you could be out there every single day with a much different tone. The way you have taken your strategy on economic development, and you know, you and I disagree on methodology. I mean, you're going to get some big wins, and you've had, and you deserve credit for that. The overall game plan in economic development, I'd rather see more fertile ground across the board than picking winners and losers. We've had that debate before. But you've put a lot of energy into certain initiatives. If we actually measured and audited your public energy for the PawSox deal, you say the right things, but you've pulled back. And I know the Speaker of the House resents you because he tells me that he thought you would carry the ball much more forcefully, that you agreed with him that you would, that he would support you on the flank, and that you haven't delivered the goods.
I don't agree with any of that. Frankly, I think that's ridiculous. I'm out every day stumping for it, among other things. Look, this is important, but there's a lot other things on my plate. My team, my commerce team, spent months negotiating this deal. You know, I couldn't have, they spent months negotiating it. We participated in the hearings. The Senate did a good job. They had 5 hearings.
There's no doubt.
We participated in that.
If there's 4
politics.
gears,
Let's
you've
be
been a
honest.
second and a half gear personally on this whole thing.
I don't agree. Look, let's just say what's happening here. The Speaker and other folks feel this is difficult politics. It's not currently popular for whatever reason, and it's an election year. I get that. I really do get that. But here's the way I would like people to think about it. 10 years from now, or 5 years from now, just think about the right long-term thing for Rhode Island and for Pawtucket. Forget about the vote now. Forget about the politics now. Do what's right for Pawtucket and for Rhode Island for the long term. I think we're going to regret it if we drive by, the Apex site is empty, and they're up in Worcester.
Ditto. I agree with you completely.
So think about that,
Call
not
through press
just
conferences
November.
day after day after day after day. Put yourself out front. Put your chips out. Put your re-election bid on it. And people will look at you and look at the leadership on this thing differently. And I will tell you, even though Commerce did the diligence on this thing, there's been a fall down in the leadership, everybody in a room concept. Like, guys, knock it off. Let's get this thing done. It's gotten to the point where it's, you know, the Senate revises the legislation that Commerce was able to craft.
Which was fine. You know, I'm fine with their changes.
Say the PawSox have never publicly said they actually will accept that deal, interestingly enough. And now the Speaker of the House says, you know what? It's dead. So I don't know if that means it's a little dead or big dead.
Well, then he needs to tell us what that means.
He won't do it. And he fears he can't get reelected. He won't say that, but it's the pulse of the people. How do you do that? I don't know. Polls, what? But it's crazy. Yeah. And somebody needs to be the adult in the room rather than just your good words and logic, which make perfect sense. Someone's got to stand on their head and say, I'm holding all you guys accountable. This has got to go. I'm laying my political career on it. That's the only way this thing is going to break up, seems to me. But that's my thought. He
needs to have the hearings, do what the Senate did, figure out what tweaks he needs. You know, if I were the PawSox, I don't know if it's not on them. They've agreed. It's on the House to say, we can live with this, we can't live with that. That's what has to happen next.
We'll see. When we come back, we'll get a couple other things, just some business news the governor's wanting to talk about, and I got a couple questions about the state police. Stay with us. Colonel Anna Sumpico at a press conference after that tragic and fatal shooting that still we need more details on, but I think most of the facts were pretty apparent. That was the day after the Providence police had a press conference sans the state police. It was the first time, I think, in my recollection, that when 2 agencies have been involved in an acute crisis that they weren't together. I'm just going to say it. I don't know about the day-to-day operations of the state police, and Anna Sumpico, you're going to tell me she's doing a great job. This is the worst level of transparency I have ever seen from the state police agency. She is incapable of responding to the media on a day-in, day-out basis, refuses to do so. I think this for all intents and purposes, from a transparency and public persona perspective, is the worst hire you've made?
As you can imagine, I don't agree. I do think she's doing a great job. She's highly respected.
I didn't say her resume and as a person that she's not highly respected. She is incapable of the public component of the state police job and has proven it.
I think she has a different view of, she's a leader in her own right. She has, I think, purposefully tried to expose the state police a little bit less and focus more on doing the job. And she's entitled to her view as a leader. She spends a lot more time with the troops in the office managing the team than she does on TV. And I can see where that would frustrate you. But that's her philosophy. Or members of the press.
The television show. This is about the overall representation of the state police. Now, my question is, have you asked her to wind it down to first gear out of 4 in a communication level?
No, absolutely not. No. So you just referenced the shooting at the mall, in which the state police did a marvelous job and risked their lives to keep us safe. I'm going to get the dates wrong, but I think that happened on a Thursday or Friday. The Friday was the press conference. I asked her, Colonel, release the names of the troopers involved. And she respectfully disagreed with me. She said, look, I need a couple days to complete our investigation. So if it were up to me, I would have put those names out on a Friday.
All right, well, listen, she doesn't answer a lot of questions. And this is not, hey, will you help me do my show? But the truth of the matter is that I'd ask you to go back and talk to the superintendent, ask her to come here and just ask her some questions. She's not going to be on trial.
Do that.
I mean, she needs to change this thing around, because the next crisis is just, there's always going to be something. And the relationship the public has with the state police is an all-time low. I only have a minute. You should come more.
Okay.
What did you do today on the business side? A little bit of, you had a little business thing today?
Oh, a big thing.
Oh, yeah, that thing. Yeah. That thing we did today? Yeah.
The Supply RI.
Yeah.
So it's an effort
I told you guys I'd ask her.
to make it easier for big companies to buy from local Rhode Island companies. So it's fantastic. 9 companies already signed up: Brown, RISD, Blue Cross, Lifespan. And we're going to make it easier for them basically to buy local, because we know if they shift just 2% of their buying to local companies, it makes a big difference. So it was great. We had all little companies there today, food companies, vendors, and if we can help them out, it will help Rhode Island and create jobs.
How much time do you spend during a day thinking about re-election?
Very little. I can honestly say very little. That'll change as the year goes, but very little.
Okay. I didn't expect any other answer. You having fun?
Yeah, I think we're doing all right. I feel great. Got more to do, but it's good.
It'd be nice if you came around more often. Just saying.
I'll come see you in Cumberland.
No, that'd be awful nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Governor Raimondo. I'll tell you what's up next. Never enough time with the governor or any of these state leaders, but you do what you can over the course of time. Tomorrow, the Senate presidents will be here, and then the minority leaders later in the week, as we kind of review the state of the state, since that season is upon us, okay? Take notes. Thanks very much for watching. Actually, you don't have to take notes. You just have to enjoy, learn, prosper, and listen to the radio show, weekdays 3 to 6 on WPRO. Good night.